Okay, imagine you're looking to really level up in the security world.
Hmm.
Not just, learn a new tool, but demonstrate a deep strategic understanding.
Right.
That's exactly what we're unpacking today.
Yeah, we're talking about the PSP certification. That's the Physical Security Professional Credential. It's offered by ASIS International.
Right. And we've really dug into a stack of your sources, articles, notes, research to kind of pull out the most crucial stuff about this credential.
The core knowledge basing.
Exactly. What is it? Why does it matter? And, how do you actually get it? That's our mission for this deep dive.
Think of it as a fast track to getting the PSP inside and out. We'll cover what it means, who it's really built for,
Uh-huh.
break down the actual exam, and then lay out a practical guide on how to prepare effectively.
And remember, this deep dive, it's tailored for you. Maybe you're thinking about the PSP for your career growth. Maybe you need to get up to speed on this standard, or you're just curious, What defines a certified physical security expert? Let's jump in.
Okay, so first off, what's really interesting from these sources is how they frame the PSP. It's not just, it's not presented as just another certificate.
Absolutely. They really stress that PSP Physical Security Professional, it's credentialed by ASIS International. And they describe ASIS as, one of the most respected names out there in security.
Right.
But the key insight I thought was this. The certification doesn't make you a professional. It proves you already are one.
That point really jumps out, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It's about showing you understand the strategy behind security, going beyond just the technical nuts and bolts.
Mm-hmm.
It certifies knowledge across three main areas. First, how you assess risk and vulnerability.
Okay.
Second, the design of physical security systems. And third, implementing the actual security operations and response strategies.
So it really covers the why, the how, and the what next sort of thing.
Exactly.
Which brings up a big question. In today's security world, why bother? Why go through the effort for this specific cert?
Well, it seems to boil down to a few key things. Standards, credibility, and leadership. Getting the PSP, it basically signals you operate at a recognized high level.
Yeah, and the sources point to real, tangible benefits. They mention it's valuable for things like international jobs, bidding on federal contracts, or really establishing yourself if you're doing high-end consulting.
Right.
That phrase, serious, certified, and trusted, it kept popping up. That's the signal it sends, apparently, to employers, to clients, even to your own team.
Okay, so that gives us a good sense of what it is and why it carries weight. But who is this actually for? The material is super clear on this point. It is not for beginners.
Definitely not. It's explicitly designed for professionals who already have a pretty solid foundation. They typically say at least, 3 to 5 years of experience?
Yeah, something like that. In actual security roles.
So who are the folks we usually see going for this, based on what we read?
Well, you see facility security managers, law enforcement, or ex-military people moving into corporate security.
Right, transitions.
Yeah. Existing corporate security officers, private consultants, even architects or engineers, whose work gets heavily involved with physical security systems.
So really anyone who's involved in designing, evaluating, or managing security operations day to day, people who've been, as the sources kind of put it, in the trenches.
Exactly. And for these experienced people, the value isn't necessarily learning brand new stuff from square one.
Mm-hmm.
It's more about validating the skills they already have and maybe filling some knowledge gaps by aligning their practical experience with, established industry standards and that strategic framework.
Okay, so if that's who it's for, the next obvious question is about the exam itself. What's it actually like to sit for that test?
The structure is, well, pretty standard for these kinds of professional exams. It's 125 multiple choice questions.
Okay.
You get 2.5 hours to do it. And the passing score, it's approximate, but it's around 700 out of 900.
And it's weighted across those three core areas we talked about earlier. So the first domain is physical security assessment. That makes up 31% of the exam.
Right. And this is where they test you on identifying threats, vulnerabilities, assets, doing site surveys, figuring out risk levels, and what security is actually needed.
Basically knowing what to protect and why, as one source put it.
Yeah, that sums it up well.
Then the second domain, this one's the biggest chunk at 34%. Application, design, and integration of physical security systems.
So this gets more into the practical side, designing your access control, planning video surveillance, intrusion detection, and importantly, how these systems fit together.
Integration, yeah.
Yeah, how they integrate into the physical environment, the architecture. The sources really stress understanding how to layer systems effectively. This is the how you protect part.
Got it. And the final domain, just slightly larger at 35%, is implementation of physical security measures.
And this is all about making security actually happen on the ground, developing policies, procedures, managing guards and vendors.
The operational side?
Exactly. Emergency planning, response, and then evaluating how effective everything is over time. This is where they say strategy becomes reality.
Now, here's something the sources really hammered home. The type of questions. They're heavily scenario-based, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Ah,
You're not just going to be asked to define terms like vocabulary words.
okay.
The example he used was great. You won't define bollard. Instead, you might get a scenario, a specific situation, and you have to choose the right perimeter defense for that context, given the needs and limitations.
So it tests application, not just memorization.
Precisely. Can you apply the knowledge?
Okay, so knowing what's on the exam is one thing. How do you actually prepare effectively for that kind of application-focused test? The sources gave a pretty clear, tactical 5-step guide.
Yeah, they did. Step one is creating a study timeline. They really recommend blocking out a decent chunk of time, like 8 to 12 weeks total.
And they even suggested a possible breakdown, like maybe weeks 1 to 3 for domain 1, weeks 4 to 6 for domain 2, 7 to 9 for domain 3, and then use those final weeks, 10 to 12, just for practice tests and overall review.
And the key thing there is consistency. Don't try to cram it all in at the end.
Makes sense. Step 2 seems absolutely vital. Stick to the official ASIS reference list.
Crucial, because the exam questions are built directly from that material.
So what are we talking about here, resource-wise?
Okay, they specifically named the protection of assets, the POA.
Yeah.
That's kind of ASIS's big foundational knowledge base.
Right.
Then standards like NFPA 730 and 731, which deal with security and life safety in buildings.
Right.
UL 294 for access control systems, and ISO 31000, the international standard for risk management.
So the advice is really clear. Focus your study there. Don't get lost in unofficial stuff.
Exactly. Step 3 is about applying what you're learning to real life. Connect the concepts to your own job, analyze your current site using these standards, or even just try explaining the concept to someone else, like a new hire. It helps it stick.
Makes sense. Step 4, practice with scenarios. Since the exam is scenario-based.
Your practice needs to be too.
Right. Use mock questions that give you situations, maybe even make scenario-based flashcards.
And for that, the sources really push connecting with other people. Joining study groups is highly recommended.
Where do you find those?
They mention places like Reddit, Discord channels, ASIS forums, even LinkedIn groups. Good places to find folks and work through those case-style problems together.
Okay. And the 5th step is simulating the actual exam experience.
Yeah. Take at least 2 full-length practice tests. Set yourself up, properly quiet room, timer running, just like it'll be on test day.
Builds endurance, cuts down on anxiety, right?
Totally. And critically, review every single answer you got wrong. Don't just see you got it wrong. Understand why it was wrong and why the correct answer is right, based on that official source material.
That makes a ton of sense. Now, beyond those 5 main steps, the sources kind of threw in some quick-fire expert tips, you know, those little hacks that can make a difference.
Yeah, some good ones there, like using flashcards not just for definitions, but to test your judgment calls in different scenarios.
Oh, I like this one. Sketching out system layouts and access zones, like physically drawing it.
Yeah, it helps internalize that spatial planning stuff.
Or watching YouTube explainer videos, especially for maybe the drier standards like NFPA or ISO, gets you a visual angle.
And finding ways to sneak in study during downtime. They suggested audiobook versions of the POA guide for commutes or whatever. Smart.
Yeah. And forming a small study group pops up again here with a specific note that learning from peers can be like 2x faster.
Could be, yeah. Different perspectives help.
And the final piece of advice from that section, sort of a mindset thing, aim for progress, not perfection. Just keep chipping away.
Good advice for any big undertaking, really.
Definitely. So bringing it all back together, the sources really circle back to the core value of getting this PSP certification. It's clearly not just, you know, a line item on a resume.
No, they call it a professional stamp, the kind that really elevates you. It's framed as the difference between just doing the job in security and being seen and trusted as a strategic leader in the field.
It's like verifiable proof, right? Proof of your deep knowledge of the industry, how you manage risk, that you speak the language of standards fluently.
And that you can lead confidently because you have that solid foundation.
Yeah. And the clear message, I think, from diving into all this material is if you're an experienced security pro and you're considering this, this deep dive, this path they lay out, it's probably your sign to go for it.
Absolutely. We've kind of walked through the whole journey, what PSP is, the real value it offers, the nitty-gritty of the exam structure, and a clear, actionable plan for preparing, all pulled straight from the sources you gave us.
And ultimately, it seems like getting the PSP isn't just about adding knowledge. It's about formally adopting and then applying that standards-based strategic mindset to every physical security challenge you run into.
And really, that strategic viewpoint, that's what separates the good security professionals from the truly exceptional ones.
Couldn't agree more. Well, thanks for joining us for this deep dive into the physical security professionals.